1,000 times? Okay, here's your downfall. No calculator today. You're chicken scratching it all out. Okay? That means you're doing it on paper. No calculator. Order of operations. To simplify an expression means you want to find its value. So your directions are going to say simplify. And what that means is follow your order of operations to get that down to one number as close as you can. So order of operations. P is parentheses. P is parentheses. Now, just a heads up, parentheses can be your curved parentheses, but they could also be brackets. I call brackets just parentheses on steroids. Okay? So if you have multiple parentheses in a row, I love when my pen quits working. It's like the greatest thing ever. There we go. Parentheses. Okay? You guys know what parentheses look like, but don't forget about brackets. Like I said, parentheses on steroids. And they'll usually use brackets so that you don't have like a whole bunch of parentheses right next to each other. But as always, you start with the furthest inside parentheses and work your way out. E stands for exponents. Exponents are just repeated multiplication, remember? 2 to the third power really means 2 times 2 times 2. Now, M stands for multiply. D stands for divide. Technically, do you always have to multiply before you divide? No. These are basically on the same level. You work left to the right. You start on the left and work your way to the right. Start on the left and work your way to the right. A stands for add. S stands for subtract. You always add before you subtract. Same thing here. Start on the left and work your way to the right. I really only want you doing one step per line. And this is just something to get our brains back into making calculations, working on some of our facts. The less you have to type into a calculator throughout the year, you'll save yourself a ton of time. Okay? Oh, I guess they use the word evaluate. Maybe I should put evaluate up here. Again, whoever wrote these should know what they're going to say. Simplify or evaluate. All right. Top left. When I ask you this question, I don't want you to always say parentheses. I'm going to say to you, what are we going to do first in this problem? So, very good. Looking at this, which operation comes first out of PEMDAS? And you guys are 100% correct. Exponents. So everything else gets drugged down. 16 minus 8 divided by 4 plus 14. Now what's our next operation? Very good. Now I always say negative 8 just so that we don't forget that there's a negative there. So your 16 stays. What's negative 8 divided by 4? Negative 2. So minus 2 and then a plus 14. What's the next operation? Very good. In this case, left to right, 16 minus 2 is 14. 14 plus 14 is 28. Now notice the funnel we have going there. Starts here and it tapers down. That's how your math paper should look. Don't work across the line. Math does not work on one line. Okay, so most people when they have their paper, so this is your notebook piece of paper, many times it's like there's an imaginary line down the middle. You know what I'm talking about? Do problem 1 and it looks like a funnel down to your final answer. Do problem 2 and it funnels down to your final answer. I have no issue if you go up here and it funnels down. What I don't want you to do is to go this way. Does that make sense? Don't work across. Work down. All right? Okay, back to what we're doing here. Let's go to the right. Just kidding. Let's go down. 4 divided by 2 plus 5 parentheses 10 minus 6, close your parentheses. What's the first thing we're going to do in this problem? Inside your parentheses, what are you going to do? 10 minus 6. There's only one thing to do in there, so we leave this. What is 10 minus 6? 4. Okay? Now what are we going to do? 4 divided by 2. Work left to right. Remember, what is 4 divided by 2? 2. Then 5 times 4, which is 20. And last but not least, 20 plus 2 is 22. Okay? Try this one on your own. Bottom right. Be careful. Follow your order of operations. One at a time. One at a time. I got 42. Okay. So in this case, we have a bracket and we have a set of parentheses. They mean the same thing. So we have to go furthest inside, and in our parentheses tells us to add. So we add 2 plus 3, and we get 5. Now we're down to, yes, 5 is in parentheses, but it's just a single number. Now we're looking in the brackets. Well, in the brackets, we have subtraction and we have exponents. Which one comes first? Exponents. So 32 minus, then 5 squared is 25. Now we're down to just subtraction in there, which is 7, and then we multiply. So if you have multiple parentheses and or brackets, always go to the furthest inside and work your way out. Good so far? Flip it over. Sometimes they're going to give us an expression that contains variables, and they're still going to ask us to evaluate. So the first thing you have to do is replace your variables with the corresponding numbers. However, whatever you plug in needs to go in parentheses. Why? To make sure that you're showing multiplication. Otherwise, if you insert a 4, it might look like 24 instead of 2 times 4. Also, if the number is negative, it might look like 2 minus 5, and really it's 2 times negative 5. So be very cautious with that. So this very first one, well, I'm going to ask you, we're only going to do one. You want to do the X one or the AB one? X? Okay. So let's stick with that one. I'm going to start over here further on the left. X is getting replaced with a 4. Here's where right here, because I'm going to plug numbers inside that, I'm going to turn those parentheses into brackets. Just because I don't want to have a parenthesis and a parenthesis and a parenthesis. So I'm going to put a bracket, and then Y is getting replaced with a 5, and Z is getting replaced, whoops, not with a Z, with a 3. and then close my bracket there. Does that make sense? If you are okay using parentheses, that's fine. I just don't like to have a bunch of them stacked up. Yes. Yes. X is 4, Y is 5, Z is 3. Is that what you're asking me?
Oh, yeah. Now I see that.
Yeah. Okay. In this problem specifically, what are you going to do first? Exponents. Very good. Your 3 cubed inside your bracket. So 3 times 4 squared is going to stay. My brackets with 2 times 5 are going to stay. Now, before you shout an answer, remember 3 cubed means 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Good. Now, what am I going to do? You're going to do multiplication. You got to stay inside your brackets, right? You got to finish off your brackets here. So our multiplication, this stays out here. 2 times 5 is 10. Then, very good. We're going to get this down to one number. 10 and 27 really is 30. Do I need to have 30 in brackets or parentheses anymore? No. Because it's not multiplying by anything, I'm going to drop those off there just to make it a little bit. Oh, it's 37 though, right? Always, I'm just taking what you guys say. So, and sometimes when I do the adding, here's the crazy thing that I'm going to tell you, and you're not going to believe me until we get halfway through the year when I screw it up 15 times. My worst thing in math is subtraction. I'm horrible at it. So I can do calculus, I can do lots of different things, but I can't subtract to save my life. So always check me on stuff. Okay? All right, now what's my next thing I'm going to do? Exponents. So my 3 stays. I'm going to leave this in parentheses. 4 squared, 4 times 4, 16. Then I would multiply 3 times 16. Here's one of the times when I said you have to chicken scratch. You may have to go off to the side and put 16 times 3 and multiply that way. It is 48. And then last but not least, 48 plus 37, 85. Ooh, be cautious. So this is what I expect to see. One step at a time. One operation per line. Remember what I tell you. We're going to go through a lot of paper, guys. You talk to anybody that I've taught in previous years, 2, 3 notebooks. We're going to go through them. Just prepare yourself. You need another one? I'll get you another one. Okay? We're going to go through a lot of paper. There's nothing wrong with that. I ask that you write so you can read it. I ask that you write so I can read it. Writing this big doesn't help me because I can't read it. Okay? All right, we're going to skip the rest of them. I think you guys got this handled today. True? All right, so same thing as yesterday. 1-2. I jump around on this one, so be cautious here. 15. Write this down. 15 to 55. Odd. But then also 59 and 60. 15 through 55, odd, 59 and 60. Your homework starts on page 13.